Amazing. Hi, guys. So nice to meet you all. Can everyone hear me okay? Hopefully. Well, I'm really excited to be here today. My name is Victoria. I've been in business ops and marketing for about 15 years now. And obviously, with the rise of AI, I kind of just began experimenting about a year ago and nerded out, and then now have been able to bring this offering not only to my personal clients, but also in collaboration with Catalyst to put this on for you guys. So, thank you all for being here. I'm really excited. Feel free to go off mute and ask me a question. I'm more than happy to explain things. The purpose of this is to be a little interactive. So if you are at your desk and on your computer, I would very much appreciate you guys um, jumping in and opening Claude because that's the AI LLM interface that we'll be using today. So basically, most of the time when I talk to founders, one of their biggest pain points is, feeling overwhelmed with all of these ideas that you have in your mind, but don't really know how to put into what a step-by-step action plan or some sort of strategic plan to help support you actually doing something about the ideas that you have. So I think it's very timely that we're working on a Monday because I don't know about you, but I personally love um, kind of sitting down for a second and thinking through how I want to work and plan my week on a Monday. And so I think it's a great day to do this together. All
Awesome. Yeah, I think this is such
right. So
a, oh, hopefully we don't have a little delay there. Um, yeah, no, I think this is so awesome, Victoria, especially with it being a Monday. I think the amount of ideas and thoughts, especially with the rapid pace of how it seems like there's something new with AI I need to learn every day. Building some kind of system around organizing those thoughts and really making something I'd love to learn from this and take away is like how do I differentiate between what is something that I need to do immediately and something that's a good idea but maybe needs to wait, and kind of organizing my thoughts there. So hopefully we can kind of talk through prioritization as well as just the documentation process.
amazing. And as I'm sure a lot of you guys already know Will, but Will, thanks for, inviting me here. Thank you for trusting and allowing me to be a part of the education that you're providing for founders. Do you want to do a quick intro just in case we have new people in the room?
Yeah, sure. My name's Will. I'm founder of Catalyst Content. We're a go-to-market agency that works with mostly B2B SaaS companies. We've been helping founders for the last couple of years, really focusing on narrative and storytelling through content. But as AI has continued to, become more prominent, we're always looking on how to use that and leverage that. So we do our weekly workshops on Maven, where we invite guests in, like Victoria, or it's me hosting them, and we dive through very actionable, tangible workflows and processes that you can use to, just make your life a little bit easier with AI. So yeah, that's my background. Feel free to join future sessions. All of them are available uh, on AI.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's kind of get into it. I kind of want to get some audience interaction. So, first and foremost, how many ideas did you have this week that went nowhere? So, either drop an idea for me or just drop like a number of how many ideas do you feel like you had? Too many, at least 10, all of them. I love it. Yeah, I feel like everyone kind of has a lot, especially if you are working on building something from 0 to 1. There's always so many competing priorities, and it's more about like, how do I figure out how I want to prioritize my day or my week, or how many of these ideas are actually viable, considering I also have a business to run. So let's just talk a little bit about what your biggest challenges are. If someone is a brave soul and wants to go off mute and just tell me, like, what are you struggling with when you think about like prioritization and organizing your week? And I'm going to lean on Charles to help me call names because I know I'm sharing my whole screen and I don't want to be toggling. It's distracting. So, Charles or Tori, can you guys help me?
Yeah, I'll start us off with Victoria because something very personal to me is like there's constant ideas floating around the internet of things to build or ways to optimize your business. And I think because AI has become so much more accessible, um, it makes it easier to start a project. But I've ended up in just a situation with hundreds of initiated projects, but no completion. And so, having a place or a bank to kind of get those ideas down, to either act on or revisit is definitely kind of where I'm sitting. I get easily
Yeah,
excited.
totally. I don't know if anyone else in the room has this, but I'm one of those like old fashioned, I use my notes app for everything on my phone. So I'll be like walking or I'll be on the train or in the airport and I just like jot down these ideas that I have about anything ranging from like what the next business idea name should be, or like a marketing campaign that I was really into, or an influencer I want to listen to, or a podcast that I feel like we should record. And then it all just sits in my notes forever and nothing happens with it. Anyone else gonna have that happen to them too? Maybe we'll get some like emojis in the room or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
yeah, it's hard. So let's just talk about like how do we get to a good place with this? How do we actually make our ideas reality? Well, we're going to use Claude. So you talk, and Claude's going to get you organized. Most of the time, it's not that our ideas are bad. It's just that we don't have a system to funnel our ideas through to verify if they're the right ideas that we should be actioning. So maybe you're like me, where I just get spastic ideas and I'm constantly creative. And then I hit a bunch of dead ends because I forget that I even had the idea. Or maybe you're more like Will, where you have shiny object syndrome and you're building all these things, but then you move on to the next one before the last one's complete, or you're just so busy that you have 10 different action items open with none of them having a clear due date. So the purpose of today is talking through Claude, like how do I get organized and how do I teach my LLM to support me in how to handle the ideas and get my time back to actually organize them. So first and foremost, I just want to say the old way of Googling and just getting an answer from the question that you ask your search engine is dead. You need to have context. Context changes everything when you're using an LM tool. So I'll give you like a really simple example that supports what we're learning today. So going into Claude and copying and pasting your notes app with all of those things that you think you need to do and telling it, here's all the things I need to do, help get me organized. It's just going to spit out a list in a different format. When you give it proper context, when Claude knows who you are, knows what your function is within your team, knows what your KPIs are, what your business roadmap is, when it's clear on the hours in the day that you actually have to work, you're able to give it more context and prompt it correctly. So, for example, here's my brain dump, act as my operations manager and executive assistant. And like that part is really key too. When you give it context on what hat you want it to wear, it's going to give you a more explicit output.
Mm.
So then you're going to tell it, what is my biggest priority? My biggest priority is 5 lead calls within the next week. Help me organize all of my to-dos in a clear action plan and flag anything that conflicts with this highest priority. So that first question that you ask your LLM, when you're treating it like a search engine, it's just going to do exactly what you tell it to. You're going to give it your list and it's going to help you prioritize it based on the limited information it has. And then it's probably going to make you feel good, like, you can conquer this. Let me know if you want me to put this into a Kanban board for you. Right? Because your LLM also loves to affirm you, and it's a very agreeable machine. So, without context, you're going to get this very surface level, very unhelpful tool for you to use. And, for some people, they're just like, oh, I kind of like the list. It works great, easy peasy. Now, when you give it context, it's going to allow you to actually be able to challenge your thinking and to help you think through things. At the end of the day, you want your LLM to be your thought partner. So I'm just going to give everyone 2 minutes. So open up your Claude tool, and I just want you to give it either a 2 minute voice note or type for 2 minutes. Tell it everything that's just been on your mind that you're feeling maybe overwhelmed about or feeling concerned about, or maybe you have a new project, but you haven't had the ability to do a timeline for. Just tell it everything that's on your mind. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that, talk to it, and then Tori is going to help me paste this transcript. This prompt with your transcript into your LLM. So just record a 2 minute voice note. It doesn't have to be organized, it can just be about whatever. And then you're going to paste the prompt in after. Okay, so I'll give you guys all 2 minutes.
Victoria, question for you. So, is this assuming that we're working out of a project folder? Is there like a folder on our desktop? Do we need to connect it to any other tools? Like, how are we, what's the initial setup here on Claude?
Okay, so that's a great question. So for the purpose of this, when we do our live workshop, and in our course series, we're going to walk you through how to do all of the connections because we only have an hour today. We're just doing a live exercise so that you get a sense of like how to actually prompt your
Mm,
LLM to challenge your thinking and be your thought partner here, and
mm,
how to. But in the actual workshop, I will walk you through here's how you are going to connect everything from your back end so that Claude has the most context possible to help even produce better results than what we're producing today.
awesome. That's great. Looks like we have a question on main reasons to pick ChatGPT. Like, can all this kind of idea and this thought process work for ChatGPT as well? Or is this Claude specific?
Okay, so that's a great question. ChatGPT is also capable of doing this, at least at this high level that we're learning today in this session. I prefer Claude as a thought partner overall when I'm working on providing it the most context possible because you can create folders that specifically train it to think in a certain capacity. So, for example, for myself as a founder, I operate multiple businesses and I also am a fractional leader for other companies. So I cannot necessarily prompt it the same way for every project that I'm operating with. But when it has context to all of my projects, all of my competing priorities, and understands my remit within each context, it actually produces a very high level strategic plan for me to follow that allows me to truly add value to every part of the work that I'm committed to doing per week.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I will say, like, ChatGPT is cool, but in this particular instance, this is Claude's strength, and I recommend Claude for it. All right. Curious about people's output. Anyone want to share their initial output? What are your thoughts about it? We're not going to stop here, by the way.
Anyone brave enough to share?
It's okay. You don't have to. I feel like some people probably have us on as a background to other things that they're doing, and that's absolutely fine. You will get a PDF after this session, and you can do it on your own time when you have more time. All right. So let's talk about how this is going to get good now. So this is where we see the elevation between using a traditional search engine and using your LLM as a thought partner, because now you're going to ask Claude a question. And feel free to throw any of those into your LLM. Any one, I suggest at least one, but I also suggest trying all of them to see what happens. But the first thing I always ask is like, what am I missing? Right? Which task should I do myself? Which should I delegate? What would you push back on? Be a contrarian, be a devil's advocate. Does this even make sense? Is this the right idea for what I'm trying to accomplish? Right? If I only had 2 hours today to do all these things, which task is going to help me move the needle the most? So let's give you guys 2 more minutes and let's ask a few questions here and see what comes out of it. I feel like next time I'll have to play elevator music, will give people
I
some
know.
quiet time.
I wonder, Victoria, could we pull this up on our end as well and do it live, or should we just try to get audience participation?
I kind of wanted the audience to do it so that way
Okay,
they can get a sense of it. I do have some examples in the next couple slides, so we're ready and geared for that too.
awesome.
All right, so I'm just going to see any brave souls. Like, what is the difference between your output one and output two? No one's brave today. I guess it's Monday. I can't expect bravery on a Monday. We're just trying to make it through. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about that process, right? That was a manual process. So basically, we went from either typing or verbally telling the LLM, here's all of the things that I feel like I have to do. Tell me how to prioritize things and help me understand. So imagine if this was automated. This is addressing what Will asked earlier, like how do I know what to connect things to? Um, in the actual workshop that we have starting June 16th, we're actually going to walk you through how to embed this into every part of your day to where you can even send a voice memo to Slack and Claude can reconfigure your priorities for the week because of the change of plans. Maybe your client asked for a last minute happy hour in 2 weeks that you now have to allocate time to plan, or maybe you have an emergency board meeting, or maybe you have to now book flights to go to a last minute speaking engagement that you had the opportunity to do. The more information your Claude has, the more it's going to help you do things like update your calendar automatically, send you reminders on urgent and important tasks. It's also going to help you do your gut check on, hey, I'm doing all of these things, but are they in alignment with my quarterly and yearly KPIs and my business roadmap? All of that will be living within your ecosystem once we help create that for you. So, with that being said, after every prompt, I want to just remind you that it's not just one thing that I'm asking. So, we already went through, we told it to create a brain dump for you and to help you organize yourself. Then we told it, well, what else am I missing? Now we want to ask it, based on what I shared, what patterns do you notice and how I'm thinking about problems? This is actually my favorite part because this helps me see myself and helps me understand my own gaps in my thinking, my own gaps in my strategy. When I'm asking Claude to be an expert ops manager and executive assistant, it's also helping me think through things that maybe I'm blind to because I'm sitting right in front of the problem. When I give the LLM the opportunity to notice patterns, it's going to help me reflect my thinking style back to me. And it's also going to be contrarian and help me open my mind up to new, different ways of thinking. So, what we just learned here is how to capture ideas without stopping to organize them, using AI as a thinking partner, and then also how to build a repeatable system. So, what we're going to give you now is an AI starter kit. So, the exact prompts that we're going to use to turn your brain dumps into your action plan, but it's also going to walk you through like what good looks like and what good doesn't look like. So, I'm just going to pause this very quickly and pull up some examples, like I mentioned, that we have for you guys. Give me one quick second.
Yeah, as you're pulling those up, Victoria, I just want to say like all of this is just kind of scratching the surface. The course that Victoria and I are hosting in a couple of weeks will be a full deep dive into how to set this up integrate it to your infrastructure, building out that full system end to end that allows you to really, build something that grows with you and doesn't just build things in a vacuum. And so, Charles, if you want to drop the um, discount code in here, that will be running in a couple of weeks, and we want to make sure that we're, getting people in there so you can really spend the full amount of time working with us to build that system that works for you end to end.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so here in your PDF that you're going to get today, I just want to make sure you guys can see that you're going to get your thinking partner starter kit. And again, this is a starter kit. So every week we're going to be building on the foundations, and then in the workshop we're going to dive deeply and like walk you through, and you will actually leave being able to build these things out for yourself. So when you look at your brain dump here, you're going to see the difference immediately. When you tell the AI, here's all the things I need to do, help me get organized, you're just going to get a to-do list. When you give it the right prompt, it's going to give you like a very clear result of here's where your organized action plans. Here's how it's ranking your priorities. It's going to give you very clear examples. And this is great because it works for your personal and professional life. If you're like, here's all like my personal bucket list goals that I want to achieve this year in the middle of working a full-time 9 to 5 and building a side hustle, great. Tell it everything and then have it help you create a roadmap to your success. So, and like I said here, your PDF is going to walk you through what are you missing? What are the questions you should be asking? And then my favorite part is what blind spots, right? So it's going to challenge your thinking. So if you're talking to it about your agency, great. But then it's going to tell you, hey, you didn't say anything about it. You didn't give yourself goals. You didn't give yourself wins. You didn't actually look at yourself honestly. Is there a specific challenge that I'm not naming? Like, why don't we go ahead and name the elephant in the room, right? Or it's going to tell you that your timeline is vague, right? When are you going to finish your actual master's degree? What do you hope to do with that? That's going to change everything for you in your career planning. And this is all hypothetical, but we wanted to make sure it was wide range so that you can see how this becomes your thinking partner and like is going to help you work through your challenges. Because I think every single person has the capability of being multi-hyphenate and doing a lot of things at the same time in their lives. So your LLM is going to help you get organized in that capacity. So I love that it also tells me, it tells me, hey, if you don't have a revenue goal, how are you going to make that dollar amount? And then the one question your LLM is going to sit with in this particular example is what would done look like for your master's degree and your agency in 6 months? You don't have a North Star yet. So it's going to have you create that. And so the more questions you answer based on what it's pushing you for in the context, the more clear your output is going to be for that brain dump that you initially gave it. So then here are some questions and challenges you can give the LLM back. So poke holes at my strategy, act as the devil's advocate. What am I missing that I can't see? You're an expert, challenge me. And then based on what I shared, what patterns do you notice in how I think about my own problems? And so these are some great insights for you as to how you can level up in your strategic thinking when you start to ask your LLM to poke holes in this as well. So in this particular example that we gave it, this person is working on a degree, they're working on an agency, and they also want to build a side business as a like coffee cart idea. And so the LLM basically told us, well, you're thinking in possibilities, not action plans. Everything you shared was more ideas, but you naturally expand before you narrow. But it means you rarely arrive at a destination or at a decision on your own. It's also telling us that we're hedging. So we're counting qualifiers And there's a lot of maybes and like maybe I don't know. So we're leaving ideas open, which is a natural human tendency that we do when we're scared of failing or scared of committing. So like, oh, well, maybe I can try this and maybe it works, but I'm not really sure. It allows us to fail before we even begin. And it's good for us to be aware that maybe that's a pattern that we have in our thinking. You know what you want, but you question it anyway. So then, how do you work on your self confidence? Maybe it can recommend books to read. Maybe it'll recommend a mentor to you. Like, there's a lot of ways, and you can in which you can go down a rabbit hole just based on this 2 minute conversation you have with your LLM at the beginning. And then it's also talking about, how do you work through yourself so that you can improve the way that you're thinking. So if it sounded savage, some are more savage than others. We experimented with a few. We thought this one was kind of nice to see because it didn't tell you everything that you wanted to hear. But at the same time, there's still room for improvement and it was semi nice. Sometimes your LLM will be mean to you and maybe you need to hear it that day. Maybe this business idea is actually really bad and you shouldn't be prioritizing that when you have to meet your KPIs in the business. Maybe it's not time to start a new business, right? And so I think the habit prompting is great because it helps you understand who you are. Will, do you want to share anything else about that? Have you tried this before?
I was just going to say, I think, based off of this, I haven't used prompts like this, and I absolutely will be using this PDF after this because I need someone to remind me what the, 3 and 6 month goals are, because I do set them. But then if I had kind of a gut check roadblock for when I start going off on a tangent on something else, it can, maybe kindly or not so kindly nudge me back to what I should be focusing on. And I think with how agreeable the default settings are, it allows me to kind of deviate from the plan, but actually setting in system prompts that encourage us to stay focused will be a game changer for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of ambitious, creative people get shiny object syndrome and we want to do everything all at once. And I speak for myself, especially. And then I realize I only half bake things because I overwhelm myself with all the things that I want to do. So the purpose of this
Mm-hmm.
prompt is to challenge the way that you think, but also help you prioritize the things that are going to give you the most return, right? At the end of the day, we want a clear ROI. We either want to make more money or we want to establish a brand or we want to obviously finish what we set out to do. And the way to do that is to stick to your North Stars and to challenge the way that you're thinking and to understand how you inherently operate mentally. And so this
Mm-hmm.
prompt is all in one and it's going to help you figure some of that out. And then, so that's kind of it. I know it's an hour, but I wanted to leave room for live workshopping. If you guys plan on joining our next lightning session, prepare to share. Like, be brave, pull out the laptop, get your hands dirty. Obviously, we have the PDF and you can do it after, but I find that the best workshops we've led are the ones where like people are engaging and chatting with us in here and saying like, hey, this doesn't work, or like, how come yours did that and mine didn't? So the next ones we will be doing more live workshopping and walking you through, and like you'll be able to see Claude kind of doing its thinking work as well. But that is it for today. We want to make sure that we support you guys. You will be getting these tools after. And Will, do you want to add anything else?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, maybe Victoria, we can pull up the Maven page together, just so people get an idea of what we'll go into in more detail in the workshop. Um, but yeah, I think this is really great for people who are starting to, really use Claude more and more. A lot of our other sessions skew a little bit more technical and advanced. And so I think this is a really good opportunity for people who, maybe have Claude on their computer and are just using singular chats every time they open it. But what you lose there is that information, and that knowledge base building on top of each other. And whether this is for your business, whether this is for the work you're doing for an employer, or just for your own personal life, I have setups for all three of those things. Anything relevant to my life. And so it's a really great system that you can build and replicate of just making sure that we're setting up the files in a way that when you do come to it and you do have that one-off thought, it's evaluating and it's really thinking through based off of the entire context of what's available to it. So I'm excited, Victoria, will be able to go through that more in depth and really, I think the purpose of the course, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that at the end of it, they'll have a full working kind of operating system for their life and, the work they're doing. And so I think there's a whole lot of value there that people are, overlooking and really a great opportunity to kind of build everything into a cohesive system.
Absolutely. I think Tori's dropping the link in the chat. And I did get some questions, so let's just go in there. How do I
Yeah.
prioritize my emails? So there's definitely multiple workflows that we can walk you through that help you prioritize emails. I think that we're going to be showing that more in the workshop session because there are some tools that you have to build out and embed. Will, have you taught a course on that yet?
No, I haven't, but that's a great one.
I think it's a great one. I think we can definitely make that magic happen. So we'll put a pin in the question, but we'll definitely host a workshop. It's fairly simple to do, and there's a lot of, I would say, like different ways that people go about it. But it really matters on, what emails are important to you and how do you want to receive them. And then I got another question, which was really sweet. How do I help my 12-year-old grandson turn his brilliant cake cooking that he's just been paid for a cake for the first time? That's amazing. Well, I mean, congrats to him. Your first fire is the hardest to get. And I think that there's definitely a few prompts that Claude can help create to help build that out. What my recommendation is go to Claude and actually tell it, like, hey, here's my situation. Here's what our goals are. Here's what we would like to achieve. Help me to create a business plan and help me execute. And then first you need the business plan and the strategy. And then the next thing is marketing. So tell your grandson to take pictures and to start creating content because then that's going to get the word out there about the business. And AI can also help you do a lot of that. Yeah, Pedro.
Hi, first of all, thank you. It's been very informative. So thank you, Will. Thank you, Victoria. I think one of the things that especially touched on was the audio component, and curious to hear how, because ChatGPT is terrific when it comes to microphone and audio capture, Claude not so much. I
Yeah.
want to know if that's your experience. How do you overcome it? Do you record something separate on notes and just upload the audio file?
I love Whisper. Whisper's like
Yeah,
my secret weapon. I remembered I was using Whisper for a whole week as on the trial, and then I obviously got flagged that I had to pay for it, and I had to type myself a whole email. And I was like, oh no, we're investing in this for the entire team. This is the best thing ever. And it's good for ergonomics. So
yeah,
I suggest Whisper. I do agree ChatGPT has better mic functions, but I think for the sake of like deep thinking, I still prefer Claude. So I would use Whisper to talk into Claude, and then you'll get the same output.
yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that on the finality or the end case.
Yeah,
Thanks, Will.
absolutely. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyone else?
Whisper is the best for anyone who doesn't use it. It's definitely saves you a lot of time and definitely worth the premium, although you can get very, very far with the free trial. For anyone interested, I dropped in a 1 month free discount code for premium in the chat. So feel free to use that.
Amaze. I also wanted to, I see another question here. I own three different companies. Should I use the same cloud account? Yeah, absolutely. You can use the same cloud account. You just need to build out different projects within it. And like that is going to help you delineate between all the brands. Okay. Any other questions? I know we have,
Hi, Victoria.
yep.
I have a question. I did that question and just wanted to get more of your insight and how do you manage to, for example, when automating or asking Claude to bring up your voice or your priorities for the different companies. I know that I've tried connecting one email account, but then if I have different emails accounts, is that possible? And how to leverage the prioritization that you were just talking, because let's say if I have the strategy on cloud for each company and then I ask overall how to prioritize the week for me, how can I better do that if each business has its own different priorities, let's say, or runs its own operation? So how can I do that across the three of them? Will Cloud help me
So
do that?
So I have like a project for each brand that I support. And then I also have a founder project, and that pulls in all of my personal responsibilities, priority setting. It also pulls in what my role is specifically for each of the brands that I support. And then
Mhm.
from there, it helps me create a comprehensive roadmap and list of how to I adjust. Because the reality is, when you operate multiple businesses at a fractional level, there's always going to be something that is going to take more priority. And so it's just a matter of like understanding what the highest things are per week and then having Claude help you time block your calendar. I think that is the biggest unlock, is blocking your calendar so that you get focused time to manage all of your own personal deliverables and priorities.
and and just
And
following
stay
up.
and I was gonna say a lot of the workshop is gonna help walk you through some of that too, because
Oh,
it is for busy founders.
amazing. Thank you.
And sorry, what was your second question?
Um, how often do you do this? How often do you prioritize? What?
So I like doing it on Sunday. Sunday's my favorite day because clients aren't online. It's my quiet day. It helps me set everything up for the week. So it we have an AI workflow that just automatically sends me, here's what your to-do lists
Mhm.
are for the week, and it gives me everything from my meetings per day to my gym classes to my networking events, all the way down to reminding me to buy a birthday present for someone important to me. And I think that those priority setting checklists just help me stay on track. And then when I update it daily, it also works in tandem. So it'll be like, well, you were supposed to get this done yesterday, but what happened? And if I tell it what happened, it's able to start to understand my patterns and not only how I work, but also like how my clients work. Amazing. Great. Any other questions? I love the Q&A.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to add to that, like I think to Camilla's point, it wasn't that clear, but that usually you can link your Gmail account if you're using a workspace one directly to Claude when it comes to linking multiple accounts. And I think Camilla was mentioning like not only the projects, not only the businesses, but also different accounts. That requires a bit more of a, I'd say, engineering to do it safely. It's not impossible, but certainly not the most pragmatic way. I don't know if you have anything specific on like a tool, Victoria, if you do use 3 different accounts or 4 or multiple.
So the way that like we've done it to find that loophole and um on my end, and I'm sure there will be a tool eventually that comes out, but we manually time block to reflect. So there's like one master calendar that
Mm-hmm.
my I have a proper EA and she is a human. And then the AI agents report to her, but she's always checking to make sure that the one master calendar is mirroring the sub calendars, and then we have Claude pull from that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then that kind of helps us out. But I think it
Yep.
just depends. Like it depends how many email addresses you have and how competing your priorities are there. But I suggest as a founder, you should always have like your personal calendar should be the North Star for how you're
Mm-hmm.
operating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
Amazing. All right. Any last questions? Would love to see any surprises that you guys got from it. If you still want to be brave and share how your output went, how savage was Claude? Did it sass you at all with your ideas? No. All right. Well, Will, I'll give you the floor back. We can close this out.
Yeah, thank you, Victoria. That was super helpful. And I think, again, kind of sets the stage for what's possible. I'll think especially with AI making it easier and easier to get things done, that means we're doing more, which means having a good foundation and a good organizational structure is more important than ever. So excited we're going to do another workshop on Monday next week, which will be free, kind of scratching the surface again on a different area. We have the full workshop coming up in a few weeks, which will be awesome. And I believe we have a few different cohorts of that. So if there's a specific date, if that specific date doesn't work for you, we do have a few options. And then we have on my Maven page, in addition to these, I'm also hosting additional AI workshops where you can learn things maybe a little bit more advanced if you want to get into building specific workflows. But we're here all learning together, trying to figure out how to use AI best in our daily life. And yeah, hope to see you guys in future sessions.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your week and don't hesitate to send a LinkedIn DM or reach out. Super happy to answer any further questions if something pops into your head later today that you didn't get to ask live.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Cheers.